How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper, and my goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading, whether the price is going up or down. So we'll jump over to the Dixie on the daily. We do have this ascending channel that does want to bring us lower. Remember, an ascending channel where the tops and bottoms connect does typically bring you lower, whereas ones where they don't connect too well, they do typically have a bullish implication, meaning we could continue forward. Over on our market cipher B here, our stochastic is trying to push forward. Went a little too far there. Our double line, our stochastic is trying to push forward. Our RSI is starting to lose strength despite the stochastic remaining bullish. So I would just exercise caution. If that stochastic does pull back, we would see Dixie likely start to drop if the RSI weakens too. That would be positive for crypto, because remember, they are inversely related, so if Dixie goes down, crypto goes up. Our momentum does want to round away, as that VWAP does have lower highs and is coming back down toward the neutral, kind of flattening out. I would watch if we get another strong red candle tomorrow. We could reject this previous consolidation range, and then if we reject that range, we could end up dropping down. Just keep in mind that this is a long lower shadow candle, and a long lower shadow candle does show that the bears tried to drop us down, but the bulls stepped in and tried to mitigate the damage. Now it is red, so there was still a bit of sell-off. So again, if it's followed by a red candle, we could see some sort of bearish continuation and our breakdown. However, if we go bullish tomorrow with the Dixie, then it's likely this channel could try to get invalidated, as we do have 3 or 4 touches to the bottom, depending on how you want to look at it. And usually after the third is when you get your breakdown. So we will hop over to the 4 hour. We do have a bounce off that 105, that support area, and the bottom of our channel. So this could be very positive if we get higher highs with higher lows for Dixie. Remember, that would be negative for crypto though. Stochastic is pulling back. Our RSI does want to pull back. The momentum is dropping down, that blue wave. So as that, as that blue wave continues to drop down, we could see our money flow, our green wave, start to pull back. And as that momentum and money flow weaken, we can see price action reject lower. Our VWAP, our yellow wave, is in the bearish territory, and it does look like it could start to round. So watch the lower time frames. If they remain more bearish, we could see a round here and a push down, which could give us that rejection. However, if that VWAP does break back into the bullish territory, we would have a higher low, and then we could follow it with higher highs to help push us forward. So I would watch the lower time frames. Again, if they remain more bullish, then we could see a push up. Over on the 2 hour, RSI is starting to curl as that stochastic is favoring more bearish, and we're struggling to hold above this 30 range. If we give up the strength here on that double line, our stochastic, then we're likely going to see the red line, our RSI, drop lower. Remember, we are using Market Cipher B edits and Market Cipher A free version 1.1. This is in TradingView, which is free. These are our inputs, these are our styles, 70% opacity, and then you make your blue wave a blue wave for your Market Cipher B. Visit the master in the trade if you want to see anything else. But that VWAP, our yellow wave, does want to push forward. Momentum is trying to gain strength. So if that VWAP can continue forward, we may see momentum break bullish and money flow could push up. However, if that VWAP rejects here and we see a weak high, we will have bearish strength that will bring Dixie lower. That is the ideal scenario if you want crypto to push up. Over here on the 1 hour, we do have a potential to make a lower high, depending on if we can pull back and break our 105. If we pull back and break that area, we could get a lower high with a lower low, which could start a bearish trend. Just watch if the highs and lows connect real well, because remember, if they do connect, that's a descending channel. That descending channel could push us up, where if they do not connect, that's a bearish continuation, and the bearish continuation can continue to drop us down on Dixie, which would push crypto up. Our stochastic does want to round away. RSI is starting to pull back. That momentum is in the bullish territory, and the VWAP is trying to remain bullish. If that VWAP can make a bounce off this neutral without making a lower low, that would be positive. That would help push us up. Again, negative for crypto as they are inverted. So watch that VWAP close. We are trying to overall pull back. We are failing to get stronger highs. So if that trend does continue, we break through the neutral area, and then we continue to hold bearish, we're likely going to make that breakdown. So over on the total for the daily, we do have a pretty decent run forward. This was from our inverted head and shoulders, so we did push up about halfway through our breakup point. So hopefully you were watching for that. We are going to delete this because I'm not sure if it's going to play out all the way, and you should never hope for the pattern to play out 100%. Remember, you're going to stop short or possibly blow through it. It's better to get a little bit of profit than to be left holding. Our stochastic here on the daily does want to push up. RSI is gaining strength. That VWAP is bullish. Momentum is pushing further up. We do have a bullish divergence, so if that VWAP can continue to remain above our zero, we could see momentum continue further, and money flow could break bullish, flipping from red to green. So watch the lower time frames. If they remain bullish, we could continue. I would watch for the retest of this flag. Remember, this was a bearish pattern. We did get a freak breakdown, but we do have the opportunity to invalidate it, providing we can continue with these higher highs and higher lows. We will see if these connect real well or not. So draw from here, then draw up. Right now our highs do not connect, so if we were to pull back here, we could have a bullish continuation, providing we continue getting higher highs with higher lows, and that bullish continuation could try to push us through that golden pocket of that Fibonacci retracement zone. Remember, you can set that up through our trading videos on Mastering the Trade. They're 5 minutes apiece. VWAP does want to pull back here on the 4 hour. I would exercise caution because if that VWAP breaks bearish, momentum will round away and price action could reject. Our stochastic is trying to run forward. We do have our blue above orange, so that's a bullish cross. RSI is pushing forward as a result, and the money flow does want to gain strength. Watch for that VWAP though. We need to continue bullish, so we need higher highs with consistent, or higher lows with consistent highs. If we don't get the bullish continuation with this, we could end up rejecting away. Watch the lower time frames. They're going to need to flip green on that money flow like this 2 hour is trying to do in order for us to see that green on the higher time frames. Our stochastic is starting to curl away, but that doesn't mean it has to sell off. Look back here, stochastic did kind of curl away, but price action continued to make a rip. So stochastic is a little bit of a laggy. It kind of curls before price action dips. Just keep an eye on it. RSI does want to kind of flatten out, but that stochastic being maxed out has that RSI almost as maxed out, so really they can't go much further up. Momentum does want to round away. Our VWAP is attempting to push toward that neutral. That's what we're going to want to watch here. If that VWAP does break for a lower low, then fails to get back over the neutral area, we could have a bearish continuation, which would break us down and invalidate the potential bullish momentum we are trying to make. Over on the 1 hour, we have a very positive cross and a retest. We broke above that 300 EMA on our market cipher A, and we are pushing forward. That's that black line. So remember, that takes 300 candles, so 300 hours in order for that line to get some movement. That is a very strong support resistance area. That's why we use it for support resistance. We really don't trade much on the crosses because those are lagging. Our stochastic does want to round away here. RSI is pulling back. The momentum is rounding with that red dot as the VWAP is trying to favor bearish. If this VWAP continues to favor bearish and we see a failure to break back through that neutral, we will see momentum round away. Money flow would continue lower. However, if we can continue to see this break forward and make a higher low, we could try to see another strong wave like this. And if we do get that strong wave, that could be what takes us to the top of our golden pocket still, despite us saying that pattern may be played out. So over on Bitcoin futures for the daily, we are seeing a bit of a pullback, and we did see our altcoins make a run. Remember, usually when you see Bitcoin dominance take a dip, that means altcoins are going to take a rip. So we are dropping away. We do have a lower low here with a lower high. This could be a bearish trend. So if we continue to see red candles here, we will push to our blue line, our point of control on our fixed range volume profile. And if we can't hold that, we could end up dropping down toward that value area low down here. RSI is weakening. Money flow is pulling back. The VWAP does have lower lows with lower highs. Momentum is bearish, so if that continues, our money flow will start to break down, and we could see that trend reversal on the daily, which could give us those wild swings to the downside. So I would exercise caution, but you did see Bitcoin go up today, despite dominance kind of decreasing. That does show how Bitcoin can still go up, and the altcoins can run up. So it really doesn't make much a difference to Bitcoin. It's just representative of Bitcoin versus altcoins and stable coins. So it's not indicative if Bitcoin's going to drop or not usually. So over on Bitcoin futures for the daily, we do have several gaps on the lower time frames. That's what these red channels are. So we'll get into that. But RSI is pulling back. Stochastic wants to round away. The VWAP is in the bearish territory trying to cross over. We do have a double green dot on momentum. But if that VWAP fails to gain some substantial strength here, we could see a rollover and a breakdown still. Again, that would give us that possibility to push to our 57K. And if we do see the rejection around the 61,790, then we could end up pushing down there. And if we break that, that could be what takes us to 52K and possibly lower if we don't meet bullish momentum. So remember, ideally, we said we would retest this range, pull back, and then push forward. We kind of gapped up. It's harder to see on the 4-hour, but we'll get into it later. Our stochastic is pulling back. We do have bearish divergence. RSI is pulling back as a result of the stochastic weakening. Momentum is rounding away. The VWAP does have consistent highs, slightly higher high with slightly higher lows. So this could be positive, but we need to bounce off the neutral to keep that going. Money flow does want to push up, but if that VWAP breaks down and momentum curls away, we will see that money flow reject and pull it further into the bearish territory. So if we zoom in pretty decent on the 2-hour, you can't see the other gap we created, but we do have another gap here in this range on the 1-hour. Stochastic is dropping down, RSI is weakening, momentum's rounding away. That VWAP does have a lower low, so I would watch. If we fail to get over that neutral, that could be where we see a bearish trend start to form. And if we do see a bearish trend, and we don't hold at these gapped areas, that's where we could see that stronger slide. Money flow does want to pull back. So overall, I would exercise caution. You can see that we did make our run forward. We did try to pull back and fill one of our gaps, but we failed to fill it completely. And when we made the bounce from it, we created another gap. So we gapped to fill it, then we gapped away from it. So we created two gaps here. So we have two gaps right here, a gap right here, and a gap down below at that 59.7. So I would watch, ideally we pull back, fill these gaps sooner rather than later, because remember, if we don't fill these gaps sooner rather than later, we could pump up to the top of our bull flag, try to push up to the 70K level, and then we could get rejected, crashing all the way to fill those gaps. That's why you want to see them fill sooner rather than later. Momentum does want to pull back, stochastic is dropping, RSI is weakening, that VWAP has lower lows, and money flow is pulling back. If the VWAP continues to favor bearish here, we will see those higher time frames weaken. That will pull us back. Again, that would be the ideal scenario, as we did not fill our gaps last night. So over on Bitcoin, we are trying to run up toward our resistance areas. We're kind of holding up on that EMA here, that 5 EMA. Stochastic is running forward, RSI is pretty flat, so if that stochastic can reclaim bullish momentum, our RSI may make a bounce here. However, if that stochastic rejects, we will see RSI to continue downwards, which will bring price action lower. Momentum is in the bearish territory due to the VWAP attempting to favor bearish. Right now the VWAP is trying to cross, so I would watch those lower time frames. If they can remain bullish, we could see that cross happen. Momentum would then propel forward and money flow could gain strength. However, if the lower time frames are more bearish, we're likely going to see a little bit of a retracement before any potential break forward. So over on the 4-hour here, stochastic does want to run up, but we're seeing a little bit of a curl back. So watch that curl. We could see that orange get above our blue, and if it does get above the blue line, then RSI could start to pull back, as that stochastic would have a bearish cross that could bring it lower. Our VWAP does have consistent highs with higher lows, so we do have a bullish trend here, but it's not the strongest. On the plus side, we could try to make a rising triangle here, depending on how you want to look at this. And a rising triangle, like its name suggests, can push you forward, unlike a rising channel that, unlike its name, pushes you downwards. So that could push us up toward that 64.9. So we could get a little bit of a bullish break here, but again, I would watch. It doesn't seem too sustainable if we don't pull back and fill those gaps on futures that are below us around that 59.7 area. Stochastic does want to round away. RSI is trying to push forward. The VWAP's pulling back. Momentum is rounding, and the money flow is bearish. So if that VWAP breaks down here, we will see momentum reject that neutral cross and bring money flow lower. Over on the 2-hour here, we do have a little more solid tops here, so that pattern is more of a 2-hour pattern rather than a 4-hour pattern. That does make it a little bit weaker than if a pattern were to appear on the 4-hour. Keep that in mind that higher time frame patterns are stronger, but they also take way longer to play out. So this little bullish pattern could break us up in the short term, but we're in a bearish possibility with that double top that could break us lower in the long term if we do not hold our support levels. Stochastic doesn't want to drop away. We also have the bull flag on the higher time frame, which that could take a few weeks. It took us about a month to go from the top of it to where we are now. Stochastic is dropping down. RSI is pretty flat, so if the stochastic continues to weaken, RSI will pull back. Momentum does want to round, but we're getting a green dot as that VWAP is trying to cross bullish. If that VWAP can maintain a bullish cross, we could see our momentum push forward, and that would give our money flow some strength to run up, and that would strengthen those higher time frames. However, if that VWAP does reject here, getting a lower high with lower lows, then we could invalidate this pattern and break lower. Again, that would be the ideal move, so we can fill those gaps sooner rather than later. Stochastic is dropping away here on the 1-hour. RSI is pretty flat overall. Momentum is dropping. We do have a green dot as that VWAP wants to break bullish, just like the 2-hour. So we do want to hold with higher highs and higher lows in order to see a bullish trend to take us forward. But again, if we do see a bullish trend take us forward, I would take some profits because it's not sustainable if we have those many gaps below us that we could end up breaking down. Remember, gaps have an 80% probability to fill, and there's 3 of them right near each other. So over on graph for the daily, we do have a similar pattern to Bitcoin, so the rising triangle. Again, this could push us forward. We don't have gaps on our altcoins, so altcoins could pump forward while Bitcoin retraces, dominance would weaken, and then we could see Bitcoin jump up again afterwards, but that doesn't mean total would have to drop away. Stochastic does want to round away here. RSI is pulling back. That VWAP did break bullish. We have consistent highs, but they're very weak. I would exercise caution because if we break that neutral, we could see the bears gain some control here. Momentum is trying to run up. Money flow is trying to gain strength. So watch the lower time frames. If they can remain bullish, we could try to snap forward. But remember, as you get toward the top of this pattern, the peak of this pattern, you will see your indicators kind of get closer to that neutral area, and they will look more indecisive. So you will want to read those lower time frames in those cases, like the 1 and 2 hour. I wouldn't suggest anything lower than that. Our stochastic does want to round away here. RSI is pulling back. We rejected that top of our channel. Over on the 4 hour, this could be a bearish pattern or a 50-50 pattern, because this could be a wedge here or a symmetrical triangle, however you want to look at. If I can grab the right thing, that symmetrical triangle is a 50-50 pattern. I would measure from here to here for your breakdown, because it is a bear pendant that could break you near that 16,316 like we've been warning. However, as it being a 50-50, you would take about half the move and apply that to your upside, and that would create the 50% upside probability, if I can get the words out, that could retest those resistance areas. The reason we have that pulled to the downside is because we had to break down, and then we created our triangle. If you want to include this, that could give us a further breakdown that could push to the 14,316. VWAP does want to pull back. Our stochastic is starting to round away. Momentum is breaking down, but trying to recover. So if the VWAP can remain bullish, we could see a bounce. However, if that VWAP breaks down, we will see a continued drop away. Over on the 2 hour here, we are starting to pull back. Stochastic is dropping away. RSI is pulling back. VWAP does want to break down, so watch very close. If that VWAP does break down, we could see the bears gain control, but currently we have a higher high. If we can make a higher low, that would be positive. That would help push momentum higher. However, if we break and can't regain bullish momentum, we will see a break to the downside. Money flow is trying to run up, but overall, we do look like we're struggling here to remain bullish. Over on the 1 hour, our stochastic is pulling back. RSI is dropping away. Momentum is starting to fall off. That VWAP has lower lows with lower highs. I would watch, as that is a bearish trend. If that bearish trend continues, momentum will continue lower, and we will see money flow remain bearish. That would in turn weaken those higher time frames and give us a higher probability to see that bearish break. So over on Ankr for the daily, we do have our double bottom. That was a possibility, but now we're kind of consolidating away from it. So I am going to delete this, as usually when you make that consolidation move away from your pattern, it's not likely to play out. That isn't to say we can't run forward, but it just wouldn't be that double bottom possibility. Stochastic does want to push up, RSI is trying to push forward, VWAP is attempting to remain bullish, momentum does want to push up, and the money flow is gaining a little bit of strength. So if the VWAP can remain bullish, momentum will continue up, and that money flow could make a cross over several days. So over on the 4 hour here, our stochastic is trying to run forward, RSI is starting to curl away, so I would watch if that stochastic makes a bearish break. RSI likely will follow. Momentum is in the bearish territory, VWAP is bullish, but I would watch. We could make a lower high with this lower low that would create a bearish trend to bring momentum lower and cause money flow to reject, weakening the 4 hour and the daily. Over on the 2 hour, stochastic is starting to round away, RSI is pulling back, momentum does want to round, VWAP is attempting to break down, and the money flow does want to break bullish. I would watch that VWAP though. If it does break for lower lows and lower highs from here, we will see momentum break down, money flow would remain bearish, and we would snap back down. We did break down, we had a gap, and we ran up. So just like futures, we did fill a gap, and now we can continue forward, unlike futures. So that is positive. This is more of a sustainable push up for us. Over on the 1 hour, we are kind of gapping all over the place, so we have a gap below us. That does make it a little less sustainable there, so I would exercise caution. Just like futures, we also have another gap below us. We're around that 29.71, so we have that gap and the 30.14. I would watch if we can't meet support at either of those levels, we could end up breaking down yet. Stochastic does want to pull back, RSI is starting to pull back, momentum's rounding away with a red dot as that VWAP wants to break down. Our money flow is starting to pull back, so if that VWAP continues to break down here, momentum will continue to weaken and money flow will break down with it, resulting in the higher time frames to push lower. So over on XRP for the daily, our RSI is trying to run forward. Stochastic does want to make a bounce. That does look positive. VWAP is trying to push up, but we're struggling to break that neutral. If the VWAP can't break through neutral and hold, we will see momentum remain bearish, and money flow could start to pull back. Over on the 4 hour, we are overall pushing down. We have lower highs with higher lows, so we're kind of indecisive if we want a bullish trend or bearish trend. Stochastic does want to pull back. RSI is going flat, so I would watch that stochastic close. If it starts to curl away, that RSI could start to break down and bring price action lower with it. VWAP is trying to push forward, but I would exercise caution. If we can't get higher highs with higher lows from here, we could end up rounding away. Watch that VWAP close over the next several hours. Momentum does want to push up with bullish divergence, so if that VWAP can sustain forward, that would be positive. Momentum could continue higher and money flow could cross up. That would give us the break up possibility from this channel, but remember, it could also drag us lower and we could see the full breakdown of our previous pattern as well. So over on the 2 hour, stochastic does want to run forward, RSI is trying to push up, momentum is gaining momentum, so that is positive. If the momentum can continue to favor bullish, we could try to push up and give that money flow strength. VWAP is pulling back though, so I would watch if that VWAP breaks down and momentum could start to round, which would make us pull back. So over on the 1 hour, we are attempting to push down overall. We kind of have this zigzag channel. We're struggling to break and hold above the 47.59. So if we can't break above and hold that, we likely would reject here and start to drop. So watch very close where we land here. We are at a local support resistance area, and we do want to make a bounce and continue forward from here if we're going to get that bullish momentum. Otherwise, we could continue lower still. Stochastic does want to round away. RSI is pulling back. The momentum does want to round. The VWAP is bullish, but it's very weak, so I would watch. It is starting to pull back, so if it breaks back into the bearish territory, we could see lower highs with lower lows, which would bring momentum lower, causing money flow to reject and weakening those higher time frames, possibly bringing us lower. So over on ALGO for the daily, last but not least, since we have not had any requests in the chat, we did get pulled back to our 1350 like we warned to watch for, and we did make a bounce overall, so we gained a little bit over yesterday. This could be positive, this could be a long lower shadow, which could signal we may see another run forward, possibly toward the 1618. Stochastic does want to run up, RSI is pushing up, VWAP does want to break bullish, momentum's gaining strength, and the money flow does want to push up. So the daily does look positive. I would just watch for that positivity to continue on lower time frames. Over on the 4 hour, stochastic is starting to round away. Momentum does want to break down. VWAP is starting to round after getting a higher high. So watch if we can get a higher low and then continue with higher highs from there. If we can do that, we could continue forward. However, if the VWAP breaks down here, momentum will round away. Money flow could reject and we could see a sell-off, possibly retesting our 1350 again. Over on the 2 hour, no gaps here. Stochastic does want to round. RSI is starting to pull back, so I would watch. If that stochastic breaks down, RSI could follow. Momentum does want to round, and VWAP is pulling back. Watch if the VWAP breaks neutral. If it does break neutral and it can't recover, we will see momentum break down, and money flow could fall flat, resulting in the higher time frame starting to push down. Over on the 1 hour, our momentum is starting to curl away, money flows remaining bearish, VWAP is struggling to remain bullish, so overall the 1 hour does not look very positive. We do have a little bit of a consolidation after a run up, so this could try to create a bull flag to push us up, but if that VWAP cannot break into a bullish trend, we're likely going to invalidate that and continue lower. I would watch very close how the next couple hours land. If that VWAP can make a bullish cross, that could help pump up us forward. However, if that VWAP does get a lower low, that will start to take us lower, possibly getting that 1350 retest. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I appreciate all of you. Have a great night.